Hello and welcome to the virtual pipe organ project. In this episode I will show you how to download the program GrandOrgue onto your system, and as well as do some initial MIDI setup and maybe show you some other functionality with the program as well. So in GrandOrgue you can find that on the GitHub page. So when you start up, when you find it on GitHub, you'll be greeted with this screen here. Then you can click on Releases. And then for Windows users, this .exe file here will be what you will download to install it on your Windows system. If you're using Linux, there's these other options here as well, like if you're running Fedora OpenSUSE that uses RPMs, find the RPM package, download, follow the instructions. Most other distros will use tar or this app image. You could even compile from source code as well. From my experience with OpenSUSE, you can find it from the online repository here at openSUSE.org/package/GrandOrgue. And then you're going to want the latest one, which is 3.9.1. Do the one-click install. Click on the link there, and then go through, hit next, and then insert your password, and then hit next again. GrandOrgue's already installed, so I'm not going to continue with that. The beauty part of being on OpenSUSE, doing it that way, it actually adds the repository to the software center. So whenever you receive any system updates, and if there's an update for GrandOrgue, that will be included in the update. So I'll always be up to date with the latest GrandOrgue as it gets rolled out. So now I'm going to open up GrandOrgue. And there we are now loaded up GrandOrgue. So I've already done some pre-configuring, but I'm going to just do a run through to show you what you need to do in order to get things working for you. So this is the demo set here. And as you can see, 2 manuals, full pedal board, couple swell shoes here. The stops here on the upper left are for your lower keyboard, the GrandOrgue division. The stops here on the upper right are for your upper keyboard, which is the receive or swell division. And then you have some stops here on the bottom right and on the bottom left. Those are for your pedal division, along with a couple 16-foot couplers, a general cancel, a set button for these programmable generals down here, and then you have preset generals that are already set up for you. So yeah, it's a small sample set, but it's enough to get you started. So, sitting at home at the computer, I have a 3-manual full pedal board console in front of me with 1 swell shoe, and I'm going to get setting up the pedal board. So what you do is you hover the mouse over the pedal board, and you're going to want to right click, and that brings up the MIDI settings for pedals. And as you can see, this is all set up for you. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and delete that setup and walk you through how to do this from scratch. So you want to hit Detect Complex MIDI Setup. Then you're going to hit the lowest key and then the highest key. And there, it's showing what I had before. So this device is my UM1 MIDI 1, which is my USB MIDI cable. My event is 9x note, so when I press a key, that's going to send note on. When I release the key, that's going to send note off out to the computer, and that's what's going to allow me to play my pedal board. Then this lowest key and highest key, and you see the 36 and the 67. 36 refers to the low C, the 67 refers to that high G on the pedal board. And then you'll notice my lowest velocity and highest velocity numbers are the same. So it's 127, so that would be full volume. And that's just because organs, as you know, are digital instruments. It's either note on, note off. There's no varying degrees of pressure to control volume. That's all done through organ stops and swell shoes. We as organists know that very well. So I'm going to hit OK. And then, as you can see, I have my manual set up as well. Okay, and then of course the channel always refers to the specific channel that it's sending the information out. So as you saw, my pedal board was channel 1, my first manual is channel 2, my upper manual is going to be channel 3, and then my swell shoe is on channel 4, I believe. No, that's wrong, sorry. My third manual is on channel 4, my swell shoe is on channel 5. Kind of forgot it's a 3 manual after looking at this 2 manual sample set. So after doing that, you want to then save, make sure everything's saved. Then from there we can pile into settings, and that's going to the file, go down to settings. Basically anything on this first screen don't need to really worry about too much. Unless you have an underpowered system, then may want to lower this, try lowering the sample size, maybe only doing like the first loop rather than all loops, single attack instead of all attacks, same thing with release, experimenting with that on lower powered systems. And then with the sound engine, if you're having issues lowering the number of chords being used, changing the interpolation, experiment a little bit with that. This default volume, it's initially set to -15. You can experiment with that a little bit. My thoughts on that, turn every stop on the sample set, including couplers. Play at least a 4-note chord on the Great Division and see how far up the green goes on these 2 bars here, and try to keep it within 3/4 of the way up. So you can so this default volume, that's the same up here, so you can use the positive, negative keys there to increase, lower that as needed to get everything in the ideal position so you don't overload your speakers. And I'm going to briefly touch on paths here. These are simply the paths where each of these things are going to be located, or where GrandOrgue is going to look first. So when it comes to sample sets, it's going to look in my organs folder in my GrandOrgue directory, which is on my documents. Same with organ packages, it's going to look in this organ packages folder, in the GrandOrgue folder, in my documents folder. And then it's going to save the cache to the cache folder, data to the data folder, and so on. Then we can move over to audio tabs. This is where you can customize things like your sample rate, choose between CD quality, which is 44,100, 48,000 is a little bit better quality, and then I think professional quality is 96,000. I'm experimenting with 48,000 right now. These are your sound ports here. I know my system uses port audio and RT audio selected. I'm not going to bother trying to deselect anything. I don't want to cause any issues. Everything's working fine right now. Now I'm going to go to MIDI devices. When you first start up GrandOrgue, nothing's going to be selected on output devices, and everything's going to be selected on input devices. Depending on how your setup is, with mine, for input devices, I just need my USB MIDI cable, which is this one here, the UM1, and my 2 launch pads with the MI. I'm not entirely sure what the MI versus DA are. I've just noticed that when I've worked on setting up my launch pads, I've never come across the DA when I've did my node on, node off complex setup there. I've only noticed these MI ones. So then in output devices, I only have my 2 launch pads selected, as those are the only devices that are going to accept my MIDI out signals. I don't have any lighted toasts or lighted pistons or anything like that on my console. Hopefully one day in the future, but not right now. So now I'm going to go over to initial MIDI, and for the purposes of my console, you can see that I've already have my pedal manuals all set up there. So to set these up for yourself, just click on the roll there, click on properties, and then click on the detect complex MIDI setup, and then follow the instructions, hitting the lowest note first, then the highest note. And then you can do that for each of your manuals as well. Any enclosures you have, if you want to program in a sequencer for your sequencers, master controls, metronomes, stuff like that. You can do initial MIDI events for, so it doesn't matter which sample set you load up, those settings should be already good to go. The one note I will make is with the enclosures. I've done an initial MIDI setup for my swell shoe before, but for whatever reason that never got recognized by other sample sets. It's because I'm thinking the swell shoes in those ones weren't reading from the initial MIDI, so that's something to look out for too. And then organs tab, well, this will show you all the organs that you have downloaded and recognized by GrandOrgue. Right now I just have the demo sample set recognized. I have a few other sample sets which are on a different hard drive, but I'll work on getting them put onto my main hard drive here and then get them set up. They're recognized by GrandOrgue, and then after doing that, you can actually set up your MIDI controls to change sample sets here with this MIDI column. So to do that, you would just click there, click on MIDI, and then you can then follow the listen for events for this one, press your control, and then it'll be set up that for an example, I'll use my right launch pad, and I'm going to use my first row 8th column pad there. So there. You can see here that this launch pad, data number 99, which is my very top right launch pad key. So if I had another sample set loaded up, all I would have to do is hit that key, and then that would launch this sample set. But I'm going to cancel out of that. I would just use that as an example. Then you can so far enable convolution reverb. Yeah, it's not supported. So we're not going to worry about that. And then temperaments, I've never really experimented with this. If one of you who are viewing this video and has even better knowledge of how this works, feel free to fill me in on the comments on what this temperaments tab is. So as far as setting up GrandOrgue, that's really the basics to it. Under File here, yeah, you can load organs. You can have organs under your favorites. I think the ones that you play a lot will appear there. You can click on Open, which will, yeah, it opens up this file thing, and then you can go to where your organs are stored, and then go from there. I'm just going to close that for now. And then, of course, you can install an organ package. And then you're greeted with this. You click on the package and then open. And that would take care of things for you there. Oops. And then, of course, organ properties. So this is showing all the properties of the current sample set. So the title of the sample set, the builder, recording details, and whatever else is there. So it's basically just an info screen. This obviously you want to save after you've done any changes. You can then update or delete the cache, reload the sample set. If you're encountering any issues, you can reset everything to default state if you've messed things up in settings and whatnot. You can import settings, combinations, export settings and combinations. This is the settings that I had clicked on originally to do our initial MIDI setup. Close and exit, self-explanatory. Then under the audio MIDI, you can choose from different temperaments, experiments, see what you like. And then you have your organ settings. So briefly here, what this allows you to do is to change things like amplitude, gain, tuning of all the different stops and notes in general. So that's okay and get rid of there. Then your MIDI objects. So what this allows you to do, instead of right clicking on a control, just being able to set everything up from here. So for example, let's say pedal, click there, configure. So you could go to the configure screen, status. It gives it a blank screen there, not sure why, and then of course close it down. And then output sound state, that's just going to tell you about your sound output. Memory set, that's just going to allow you to program your programmable generals and any other memory. Load MIDI, and then log MIDI events. This is kind of a useful one. If you're having issues with your console and trying to do some troubleshooting, you turn that on, log MIDI events, you hit a key, and then it'll tell you exactly what happened when you press that key. For example, with the note I just hit, MIDI note 69 got hit, so that 127 note on, value 0 there is note off. So that's what the log MIDI events is for. Very good for troubleshooting. Helped me to figure out that I needed a different USB MIDI cable in regards to my console setup at home. Then the panels here, for example, for noises here, if you wanted all the effects on or off, the blower effect, which is this motor noise here, and then stop effects on or off. So with the stop effects, with it off, you wouldn't hear the stops being engaged or disengaged. With it on, you do. That sort of thing. I believe the all effects one, that would be for things like with all the stops off, hearing the notes clicking on and off, that sort of thing. And then of course have for all the for couplers for your pedal couplers, your first manual, second manual coupling for this sample set, and then for, I guess, general for up to 4 manuals here. Coupler manuals and volume. So you're greeted with this, so you can program these things. And of course, metronome, so you can set your metronome up, connect the MIDI if you wanted. Crescendo pedal, divisionals, generals, combination setter, master controls. I'll show you that one. You can program a save button for when you changed up settings. This on one, this one can be especially useful for those of us using Novation launch pads. That when we turn off GrandOrgue or go to switch sample sets, that whatever we have pre-selected on our launch pads, let's say you had a value for note, an off value other than 0 for your stops. You program that like this. Right click on the on. You would then go over to send, select the device, make sure the off value is 0, so that way when you shut down GrandOrgue, it would then shut off all that specific pad on the launch pad. Do it for all of them just to be safe. And then what I would do then is for the on value, I would just input the corresponding off value for that specific launch pad for that stop. I can show that in a future tutorial. Okay, so I'll click out of there. And then of course you got your recorder player, so that allows you to do audio and MIDI recordings as well. I use a different software for the videos I do, so I don't ever really need to deal with this. And then of course under help you have the help manual, which really goes in depth, and the about page here. I believe that covers everything I wanted to cover for this first tutorial video, kind of getting our feet wet with GrandOrgue. If you have any questions, please place them in the comments section below. If you've liked this video, please like and subscribe to my channel. If there's any other topics, yeah, leave a comment for me if you'd like me to cover anything. And that concludes this tutorial. Next tutorial, I will actually show my console and my launch pads, and know what? I'll show you how I would like to set this demo setup on my launch pads, and that way you can see how I do it, get everything working properly, and maybe give some inspiration for those of you using launch pads and looking for answers on how to do this. Until next time, have a great one.